Great. Well, good evening. We will call to order the Tuesday, December 1st meeting of the Birmingham Parks and Recreation Board. Do we have the roll call?
Okay, make sure you say your city and state, please. Heather Carmona.
Present, Birmingham, Michigan.
Susan Collins.
Present, Birmingham, Michigan, but currently in Petoskey. I don't know if that matters.
Yep, so to say Petoskey, Michigan.
Okay.
Okay. Pam Graham.
Present, Birmingham, Michigan.
Ross Kaplan.
Present, Birmingham, Michigan.
Ellie Noble.
Present, Birmingham, Michigan.
Dominic Poulos.
Present, Birmingham, Michigan.
And John Rushi.
Present, Birmingham, Michigan.
Thank you.
Great. Oh, someone else coming in. There we go. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the Tuesday, November 10th regular meeting. Do we have a motion for approval or any comments or changes?
Dominic.
Yep, just two comments, please. The first would be on, let's see here, page 3, where it says it was moved by Dominic Poulos, seconded by Ross Kaplan. Just a minor typo. My name is spelled incorrectly there.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. And then same page, later in the page where it says it was moved by John, seconded by Dominic. So the topic in regards to the Barnum Park electrical additions. I had made a comment I thought it would be appropriate to include in the meeting minutes. My comment was broader than specifically Barnum Park, but it was about the topic of trying to adopt some sort of a uniform light plan for the park facilities in the city. So, and it was the idea was to try to be consistent with the existing lighting guidelines or you know, regulations already present with the planning board.
Wasn't it the color temperature discussion, Dominic?
Yeah. I mean, whether it's color temperature, whether it's LED versus you know, high pressure sodium, you know, the type of lighting, the color, the tone of the lighting, those kinds of things. I was trying to advocate that we have a vision, we'll say, you know, and a guidance. I don't know if policy is the right word, but you know, something that we kind of adhere to and follow, rather than each park or each facility being done on an ad hoc basis.
Connie could go back and listen to the minutes on that part.
Yep, I'll go ahead and listen to it and put a comment in there about the lighting, making sure it's appropriate for all parks.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Any other comments on the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move that we approve the minutes. John Rushi.
I'll second it.
Motion by John, second by Ross.
Yes.
Okay, could I do a roll call, please?
And Brooks as well. Welcome. And the next item on the agenda.
No. I need a.
Oh, roll call. I'm sorry,
Roll call.
Connie.
Heather Carmona.
Yes.
Susan Collins.
Yes.
Pam Graham.
Yes.
Ross Kaplan.
Yes.
Ellie Noble.
Yes.
Dominic Poulos.
Yes.
John Rushi.
Yes.
Thank you. Heather, I noticed too that Mallory's in with one of the students.
I'm sorry I'm late. I just got home from work.
Yep. Okay, great. Thanks, Mallory, for joining us.
Hey, Mallory.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is welcoming our new alternate board member, Ann Liff. Hi, Ann.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can.
Hi.
Hey, Ann, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great to see you, and thank you for your interest in the Parks Board. And we know you were recently appointed. I think it was at the last commission meeting, and there was a slate of several people who were interested in the board seat. So briefly, do you want to just tell the board? And I remember looking at your application in the packet, but I'm forgetting a little bit of your background now. But did you want to share with the board and the public your interest in the Parks Board briefly?
Sure. The main reason, well, there's two reasons I wanted to be part of this. I grew up here. I was a competitive figure skater. Connie knows me. I was in 13 ice shows. I really got a lot out of Parks and Rec when I was a little girl. My parents still live on Yosemite. And now I have two little girls who like to skate too. And I know they're going to take advantage of all the parks programs, and I am excited to be a part of that success.
That's great. Well, you chose a good time to join. There's a lot of exciting things happening at the ice arena about to come, as you know. So welcome. We look forward to your participation. So thank you very much. Any other comments? Anything for Anne? All right. Okay. The next item in our regular agenda is the Parks and Recreation Rules Final Revision. Which I'm sure we're all glad to see. A lot of work, Carrie. This is really, really good. A lot of detail. Do you want to introduce this, Carrie? Yeah, thank you.
I will. Thank you, Heather. Yes, so we're back again this will be the third time, but we've made a lot of progress, as you mentioned, and so we're returning tonight because the legal has reviewed our changes from the November 10th meeting. And I've outlined those changes that were recommended at the November 10th meeting in the report this evening. And so 2 of those changes she approved, and then the third one, she can't approve it. She's, and that one, it would be the smoking rule regarding the marijuana language that we had added, and then we removed some of it at the November meeting, striking out the consumption or use of marijuana products. So she's not comfortable taking that language out, and she reminded me that it is illegal to consume marijuana on public property. Therefore, is recommending that the language proposed at the November 10th meeting remain. And so that's staff's recommendation in front of you this evening, is to incorporate the language that we had proposed at the November 10th regarding the smoking rule. The 2 other changes have been made, and so all of the rules were attached again after the report for your final review this evening.
Any comments or questions from the board? Dominic?
So first off, I second the notion. You know, very job well done. A lot of hard work and a lot of attention to detail on these. Just a couple of observations, maybe just minor typo kind of things. On the tennis court rules, page 6. Third bullet point from the bottom that says private instructions and classes. The letter P in the word private is struck through.
I noticed that when I looked at the packet too, so we will correct that.
Yep,
You're
I just
right.
didn't want this to get blown up into a sign that has that. Same sign, and then this is a nitpick. The first bullet point, the phone number has dashes, and the second bullet point, the phone number has periods. And I don't know if you need, the phone number in both locations or not, but they should probably just match.
Good. We will correct that.
Okay. And then I do have a couple of comments on page 8, the dog park rules. And please remind me if we've already covered this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 6th bullet point says users may only bring 2 dogs into the park. I think we would all interpret that as you bring a maximum of 2 dogs in the park, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I don't know, maybe the word maximum would, or up to 2 dogs, something like that. Couple bullet points down where it says aggressive dogs, comma, and unfixed male dogs. there's a period between the word and the word unfixed. So it doesn't need to be there.
Oh, yep.
And then as I was reading that, I was wondering, do we have the ability, or is there a rule that says the dogs must have their vaccines? Or is that implied by the fact that they must have a valid dog license?
Right. I believe it's part of the license process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just went through this with my dog. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only rabies vaccine, but it's
Yeah.
definitely required to be current.
If it's implied, and covered by the license and tag, then I certainly don't think it needs to be called out again. Thank you.
Okay. Good catches, Dominic. I think before being a DJ, you were an English teacher too, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Those are good. Okay. Any other any other comments from the board? All right. So the motion to approve is: are we exempt? I'm confused. Are we exempting the smoking? The first paragraph, Carrie?
If we could just approve the updated park rules, it's on page 2 on the report.
Right. Okay.
And it will just be because tonight we're approving that. So.
Okay. All right. So if we're ready to proceed with, do we have a motion to? The suggested resolution is to approve the updated parks and rules and regulations and updated language on posted park signage, including the changes that we've just discussed, further to recommend the parks rules and regulations be considered for adoption by the City Commission. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
This is Dominic. I'll motion to approve it as amended.
Second.
Motion by Dominic, second by Ellie. And vote by the board. Call on the motion?
Yep. Heather Carmona.
Yes.
Susan Collins.
Yes.
Pam Graham.
Yes.
Ross Kaplan.
Yes.
Ellie Noble.
Yes.
Dominic Poulos.
Yes.
John Rushi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Our next item of business on the regular agenda is the request, it's a call of entry for entry. 2 of them, actually, request for art donation installation for city parks. And, Brooks has joined us. Brooks, you're going to introduce this item and discuss this very thorough memo.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carrie, would you be able to make me an administrator so I can do a share screen?
Eric? Yeah,
co-host.
Yep, Eric, co-host, please.
I guess good evening, everyone. I am Brooks Cowan. I work in the planning division, and I'm also the staff liaison for the Public Arts Board. And the Public Arts Board has 2 items on the agenda for your board to review today. It's kind of a chicken and the egg kind of situation for us. One of them is a call for entry for 5 sculptures that in specific locations that they would like to recruit for in the coming year. And then the second one is a sculpture donation, which they move to one of the locations they'd like to recruit for. So to begin with the call for entry, they've been discussing doing this for about 2 years and have been working through one of the main issues, which is installation and base pads for sculptures. And so the Public Arts Board has prioritized 5 locations. 3 of them are on, I believe, Park Green Space. One of them is at Poppleton Park at the corner of Madison and Woodward. Second one is at Linden Park by the Linden Trail where it crosses West Maple. And then a third is the triangular green space south of the 555 building. Let me see if I can do a share screen here. Can everyone see my screen? Is it shown up?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Public Arts Board wants to have a pamphlet to send out to different art organizations, such as Cranbrook, local art schools like CCS. And so there's an informational packet. 5 locations are here. So this is the Linden Park site. Smaller photos here. And then I'm not sure if there's a name for that triangular green space south of the 555 building. There used to be a sculpture, the big red one called Chupi, which was removed last year. And the third one within the park space is this Poppleton one here. 2 of them have 6 by 6 foot concrete pads. The Public Arts Board coordinated with the engineering department's sidewalk program. Working the base pads into that program saves thousands of dollars due to already have workers out there pour that in. And so for the Public Arts Board, before we go to City Commission, they wanted comments and recommendation from the Parks and Rec Board for the locations to which they're recruiting for. And just as a heads up, while doing this call for entry, we had a donation application for Pyramid Earth, which the Arts Board has recommended for this location at Linden Park. You can see the bridge here. The trail goes back behind there. So we already have a base pad there. The other 2 locations are in downtown, and they were in the Terminating Vista report, which I believe I brought to you guys in August. So here's the Maple at Henrietta, and then the other one at Hamilton Row, Northwood Woodward. And then here's another view of the Poppleton Park. And so for the one south of 555, if we receive any interest for a sculpture, we would again coordinate with the engineering department and DPS on a base pad installation to make sure everyone's signing off on, whether they're okay with that. So I believe for you guys, I believe the sample motion language is to consider and recommend the location. With that, kind of a long story, but I leave it to you guys for any comments or questions.
Thank you, Brooks. Any comments from members of the board? Susan?
Brooks, I just have a question as to what you guys considered when you looked at the location and why those locations were picked.
Right. I believe 3 years ago, the Public Arts Board had the staff liaison before me do photos, and they'd made a priority map of over 50 locations throughout the parks and throughout downtown in the city. And then they numbered them, and then they kind of came to a consensus on high, medium, low for those 50. And then this past year, we've done a Terminating Vista report as appointed by City Commission. And so this past year, the Public Arts Board requested an increase of budget to assist with the installation process, because that's the most costly part. And then they considered that budget and was like, okay, we can probably do 5. And they did 3 Terminating Vistas, and then 2 of the locations where the base pads are. And so I think those were where they wanted to, their entries or exit ways to the city. And also they're kind of downtown, and City Commission has indicated interest. So that's how they came to the 5.
Thank you.
Bruce, this is John Rushi. Could you remind me again what Terminating Vista means?
Right. A Terminating Vista it's an area as designated on the regulating plan that merits enhanced architectural and design features. And so it's generally an area where a view is kind of enclosed. For instance, where Henrietta T-bones into West Maple, where the view is ended, our zoning ordinance and City Commission, they want enhanced design features. And so that green space south of 555 is one of them, considered a gateway to the city, and a Terminating Vista that they want enhanced design features.
I see. Did you say the electric box on Maple there? That's a Terminating Vista? I didn't quite follow what.
The electric box in front of it's in front of the Mad Hatter. It's on Northwood Woodward and Hamilton Row. So if you're driving west on Hamilton Row, the view ends. I can pull that one up again.
I realize this isn't part of the parks, but
right,
it's a curiosity.
Right. I'm trying to find my share screen. Yeah, they want the electric box to be kind of decorated and made to be less obtrusive of a site, I would say.
Less like an electric box.
Yeah. And so our Terminating Vista report had some recommendations for ways to enhance this. There's examples around the city where they've done like a decorative sculpture casing around it, where the casing has a enhanced design door that opens, and we're doing a call for entry so we can field different interests and different proposals from people, kind of see what the artists think.
Sure. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Ellie? Oh, you need to unmute Ellie. There you go.
Good. I went on my Windows rather than unmute. Okay. So one thing I was wondering, Brooks, is that 5 is an entryway for certain one, you know, that is seen so much. It's kind of like the entrance to Birmingham. So have you ever thought of having that would really say a lot of Birmingham in that particular spot, or is that not part of the thought?
Sorry, I think you broke up a little bit. My impression is that you're asking about the triangular green space south of 555.
Right.
In a more one. And speaking of the Public Arts Board, like I've made it known to them that, you know, that one will merit, you know, extra design review from Parks and Rec Board and City Commission. That we have some smaller sculptures, and you know they might go at other places for the city, but I think Public Arts Board knows that, you know, that spot's probably going to be very, I guess, grand or, you know, deserving of that space. They don't want to just put anything. Does that cover it?
Pretty much. I was thinking it was the gateway to the city there, so it'd be an important piece of sculpture.
Right. I believe the one that was there before, the red Chupi, I think that was 15 or 20 feet in height. And so I guess, you know, some people, everybody has their opinions on art, but I think that they, for that space, they want something, you know, big, I would say, where you can see from far away.
Okay. Dominic, did you have your hand up or no?
Yes, I did. Just a quick question, Brooks. The pads, the 6 foot by 6 foot concrete pads, are those, and in particular, the one that caught my attention was the Poppleton Park. Is that pad there intended for a sculpture, or does it have some other purpose, and we're kind of dual tasking this pad?
Right. It was put there for a sculpture. In 2019, the Public Arts Board made a motion to recommend, I believe, $3,000 to $4,000 for 4, I forget the exact number, but for sculpture pads in distinct locations.
Okay.
And then after the city manager saw that, he worked with us and directed us to the engineering department's sidewalk program. The main cost up front with the concrete is getting the workers and the materials out there. To do one sculpture pad is about, I've heard, $2,000 to $3,000, but with the sidewalk program doing it, it was $200 extra for one. And so the Public Arts Board had selected those locations and requested money, but then the city manager worked it with the other departments. So they have been intended for sculpture.
Got it. So those locations are by design for sculptures. They're not just a random piece of concrete that we're going to throw a sculpture on.
Correct. And then after those were poured, the Public Arts Board wanted to go with a call for entry that you have before you today. But then we were directed to do a terminating vista report, and the board figured that they'd like to loop the two together, the sculptures in the parks and the terminating vista art.
Thank you. Makes sense.
Ross?
Just a quick question, Brooks. I know a few years ago, I believe it was the Art Board came to the Parks and Rec relating to the DIA had a program to put temporary art in the parks. Is this part of that or integrated with that or fully independent?
That is not a part of the DIA program. From my understanding is that Birmingham coordinated with DIA, so the Inside Out program. We actually met with the DIA a month ago about possible 2021, 2022 projects, but this is independent from the DIA.
Different locations as well?
I'm not sure what the former DIA program was. I wasn't around for that. I've only heard how they coordinated it before. But I think that that's an annual program from the DIA, and I think you have to be kind of a year and a half planning out for that to do. So.
I think just mine, I don't know exactly, but my understanding of the DIA program is it's structured, they're not freestanding, most of them. They're on buildings or in cooperation with businesses or physical structures.
The DIA program is going to be on the Public Arts Board's, their goal setting for 2022 agenda session is next month, and that'll be discussed on that. Forward to that.
I have a question.
Pam?
I think that the selection of the sites and the pursuit of and the call for entry are good, and I support the work of the Arts Board. I'm wondering if you could direct me, are there policies from the Arts Board about how art is selected, or whether neighboring businesses or homeowners are advised of the art before it's installed? The idea of what they're looking for, how art is evaluated for installation isn't clear to me. Is there somewhere I could look, or do you have a summary of that?
Right, that's a good question. In our terminating vista report, I believe recommendation number 5 was actually develop a more thorough public notification process for public art. Right now, Public Arts Board mostly deals with, like it says, public art that is donated or put on loan within the public realm. And so that application goes to the Public Arts Board, Parks and Rec Board generally, or whatever board is involved, say Martha Baldwin Library, and then the City Commission. At the moment, we don't notify surrounding residents within a certain radius like we do for the Planning Board or City Commission with hearings. And the Public Arts Board is in the process of discussing a review process and proposing that to City Commission. The hope is to have that idea hammered out this winter and spring, so that when this call for entry is finalized, that we have a formal policy in hand. And so the only way for residents really to know is if they follow the agendas for the relevant boards at this time. And then,
well, I think, and you brought to us, notified us, and we proved that the local Lori Tennant, a local artist installing pictures of flowers in parks, doesn't seem very controversial. But if there's like a 30-foot sculpture of someone bending over, somebody might not like it in the park that they see while they're eating breakfast or whatever. And maybe it's also just an opportunity to notify people. This is a time-bound installation, and to know. I think that just another comment on the call for entries. It's pretty vague. I can understand where we don't say your entries are due by a certain date and all this, because it's not. Things will just come in. But whether there's a policy to like favor local artists or certain kinds of diversity or any intention of the arts board would be useful to communicate, especially at the time when an artwork was selected and going to be installed. Communicate it with the nearby residents.
Right. And the Public Arts Board definitely wants to put a more thorough review policy. And they want to engage the public more as well. And so that's in the study session process right now. And so I think we'll be trying to send something to commission within the next month or two.
Great. Those are good questions, Pam. Any other comments or questions for Brooks? Okay. We open up for any comments to the public, or do we wait until we take the vote? Okay. I don't know if we have any. We have Cindy. Anybody else from the public? So the motion, we do have a sample motion here for the 5 locations. I'm a little unclear. I understand concurrently because it's not on the agenda. We're doing that independent of the call for entry for the sculpture, correct? For the Pyramid Earth?
Correct. I believe for the call for entry, the review process from the Parks and Rec Board is that they're okay with the locations to which the Public Arts Board is recruiting for.
Okay. All right. So we just right now then, based on our discussion, the motion is to recommend the call for entry for artwork that prioritizes the 5 locations as indicated on the map. Okay. All right. Do I have a motion for a motion to approve the, it's not a resolution, it's just a motion. That's only, anyone want to make the motion?
I just have one quick question. Are we allowed to comment on the 2 or 3 sites that are not part of Parks and Rec? Or maybe it's a question for Lauren, I'm not sure.
Oh, shit.
Maybe we should just motion to concur with the recommendation to have 3 public art in 3 of our parks.
Any other thoughts from the board? I think we defer, I think there's been ample study by the Parks or by the Arts Board here. I don't think we want to go back and have to investigate things that they've done. I'm fine with the motion as is, but I'm welcome to entertain any other comments from my fellow board members. So suggest, Susan?
I agree with you, Heather. I mean, they've vetted this and they've talked to a lot of people, and they started with, what do you say, 100 or 50 sites and went down from there. And so I think they've done their homework.
Yeah, I think, Pam, the questions that you bring up are good questions, but those are not separate from the locations. So I think those are all,
just like this installation is bringing a separate agenda, we would have a chance to see it. And if we thought that the communication to the nearby people wasn't appropriate, then we would recommend differently, but no use worrying about that now.
All right. Does anyone want to make the motion?
Make the motion to approve it.
Susan? All right. Susan's going to make the motion to recommend the call for entry for artwork that prioritizes the 5 locations as indicated on the map. Anyone would like to second that?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Pam. Okay.
Okay, roll call. Heather Carmona.
Yes.
Susan Collins.
Yes.
Pam Graham.
Yes.
Ross Kaplan.
Yes.
Ellie Noble.
Yes.
Thank you. Dominic Poulos.
Yes.
Don Rushi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So the next item on the agenda part of this is the call for entry or the request for donation for Pyramid Earth. And this is you again, Brooks.
Yep. So while we were finalizing the call for entry from the Public Arts Board, they had a donation from a local artist who is based in Farmington, I believe, and they were talking about different locations. And considering the photos that were submitted with the application, they thought that the location at Linden Park within the call for entry would be fitting for this location. Let me do a share screen again. Is my screen up?
Yeah.
Perfect. So this is a photo of Pyramid Earth at the OCC campus in Farmington. The sculpture here is 5 feet tall, I believe 2.5 to 3 feet wide, and then the base is 3 feet. And so, considering the trees in the background and the natural features, the Public Arts Board, originally was saying, well, maybe that area south of 555 could be good because you can see it from both sides. But I think the artist and the board felt that, due to the scale and the background, that the Linden Park side would work well due to the natural setting. And so Public Arts Board also liked that there's a base pad in place for this. When the artist and his installation rep came and spoke with us at November's meeting, they talked about how they have experience moving this art piece 4 different times. That they are they said that they'll be responsible for all of the installation. They're not going to be asking DPS or the city to be helping with any kind of truck or delivery or anything like that. And let's see, I think I'm going to go to the base pad design. Roll out a bit. So they were talking about 2 different kinds of base pads, and there was a precast concrete or a granite one. Sorry, not a base pad, a pedestal that they would attach to it. I think the artist and the Public Arts Board indicated that they'd like to go with the granite. They think that, having seen the photos, that something stepped would be nice. And they provided renderings of how it'll fit on the concrete base pad that's there right now. And so a smaller rendering. And then this is the Public Arts Board went and visited it with the artist rep out in storage in Clinton Township. The artist said that they would refinish it to give it a little more shine. And so I think they like the location because it gets foot traffic. I think it'll reach about 8 feet in height total. And the Public Arts Board is asking you guys and City Commission to include that within their call for entry. So, hence this kind of chicken and the egg kind of situation. And so speaking with the artist rep, unfortunately, they weren't able to make it to the meeting tonight, but I think they were vetted through quite a lot of questions. And so if anyone has any questions, and if I can answer anything, I can get back with them. But I believe the motion is to recommend that sculpture at the Linden Park locations indicated on the map. So with that, I leave it to you guys.
Great, thanks, Brooks. Arts comments, Dominic. You unmute Dominic, please.
I'm off mute. So I have no qualms about the proposed sculpture or location. And I'm reading through the minutes from the Public Arts Board. I guess I just want to be sure there's clarity on one point, and that's with regards to the granite pedestal. It looks like the cost of that granite pedestal was estimated somewhere between $6,000 and $8,500. Actually, no, $8,500 for granite. The stipend is $2,000.
Right.
And according to the meeting minutes, maybe I didn't read far enough, but it seems like there's no clarity as to how we're going to bridge that gap the $6,500 gap. It's certainly not financial scope for the Parks and Rec board here, but I just want to make sure that from your side, Brooks, that your board and the team have a holistic plan in place such that if we reach a decision here today, that there's no surprises on the next step forward.
Right. Sorry that wasn't clear enough in the minutes. This was part of the discussion at the Public Arts Board. And so being that it is included within that call for entry, where the Public Arts Board requested an increase in budget to assist with installation, there's also an understanding that we're a city government and we can only contribute so much, and that they wanted to do $2,000 for each approved sculpture by City Commission. And if it's donated, that would be provided after installation. And so they asked the artist if they were able to cover the extra, and we discussed that there are other grants and art installation funding which the artist could seek. I believe one of the board members, Annie Van Gelderen, is the head of the BBAC, Birmingham Bloomfield Arts Center, and she said that she could work with him on finding outside sources. The board also said that they would bring this to the Cultural Council of Birmingham Bloomfield for outside sources as well. So they're aware of the difference in funding. I think Public Arts Board has just indicated an interest to say, hey, delivering a heavy sculpture and getting trucks can be costly. We want to incentivize art installations. I think that's been the biggest issue over the past years, is the installation process and the cost involved. So I think they're ready to cover that.
So,
thank you.
Ross, go ahead. You have a question?
Just another question. I know when we looked at the chair sculpture at Barnum, there was some very detailed drawings, and it went to the building department for stability. This is 400 pounds, so it's not very heavy, but just concerned, is it attached to the slab so it can't be knocked over? I know they're putting a different pedestal on the bottom. It'll be considerably heavier potentially, but just for safety.
Right. That was also discussed. And so with say if it goes to City Commission says we prefer precast concrete. Precast concrete weighs over 3,000 pounds. And so they were like, well, we're not too worried about attaching it. But he said that delivering that to the site would be a little different. But they also wanted the granite pedestal because easier to attach and easier to remove, say if plans came along and they needed to move it somewhere in that area. And the artist indicated that if granite was approved, they're moving forward with that they would provide detailed plans on how it would be attached. And so we've gone through that. We went through that with the library sculpture installation, and the Public Arts Board, as a side note, is actually working on bringing someone on call who's a sculpture installation specialist to help out. So we'll be looking into that as well. Mm-hmm. But yes, it would be bolted down if it were granite from pedestal.
Any other comments from the board?
I have a question. Especially with modern sculpture and so on, I found myself often looking at it and wondering, what's the artist trying to tell me? What was his inspiration and so on? I was just wondering if there's ever been any discussion about putting a little plaque on it, which of course has the artist's name and so on and the title of the work, but then also a few sentences on what inspired the artist to do this, or what the artist wished we would see when we gazed upon the sculpture. Has that ever been discussed, Brooks?
Right now, when we do the plaques, we just do the name and the gallery associated with it, and maybe the year. what the Public Arts Board has worked on and was posted online this year is an in-depth it's like a one-page description with photos, who the artist is, and a summary of every sculpture, and you can find that online. I think we're trying to do more kind of online. Hey, check out our website, check out the Pinterest page, see the descriptions there. I think
maybe the plaque could say that. Maybe the plaque could say, for more information, go to URL, blah, blah, something, you know.
Or QR code.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think they've definitely wanted to strengthen their online presence of promoting art within Birmingham.
Sure.
And, getting more information available. So I think we're trying to work with our communications team more.
Those are great ones. Great comments. Anyone else have a comment or a question for Brooks? I just had a couple things. I think that's a great suggestion, John. I think, when you read the artist's bio, it was pretty impressive. He, going back to Pam's comment, he was local, he grew up here, right? And he said he was inspired to give back. It's a pretty generous way to give back. So I think that tells a story, right there. It would be nice for people. It also gets buy-in to people and more community engagement, Brooks, as you said as well. I did have one question, and it was not clear to me in the memo. So in the call for entry, all of the other potential artworks were for a loan for a 3-year period, right? What is the term? Is this, because he's donating it, is this the ownership? Is this going to be for an extended period of time, or is there any sort of limitation as to if somebody else says, I want to come in and donate a sculpture in that same spot or associated spot?
Oh, sorry. I'll go back and take a look at the clarity of the wording. I believe the intention of the call for entry is that if you donate your work to the city and it's approved, the Public Arts Board would like to provide you with a $2,000 stipend. However, if you see those locations and the artist says, I'd like to loan it to the city, the stipulation that would be written into the contract for the loan agreement Public Arts Board has, we would have to make revisions, but it would say you get $1,000 after installation, and then the term for the loan would be 3 years, and then you get the other 1,000 after it's removed. Or at 3 years, if you want to donate it, then you would get the other 1,000. So that's the way that they would split it between. They do donations or loans, but the stipend would be distributed differently.
So without the stipend, regardless, it's for this in particular, it's 3 years. Is what it.
Oh, this one would be, they're recommending it permanently for Linden Park.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about, Pyramid Earth in particular. Okay. Yeah, it was clear on the others. Okay, so this is a permanent.
Correct.
Or indefinite until.
Indefinite.
So I guess kind of going back to Pam's question around, what is indefinite? Like, what's the definition? Like, when does somebody determine that it's to be removed? Just.
Right. And so that's another reason that the Public Arts Board wanted to recommend the granite, is that it would be easier to move, to detach it. I know that I think Journey Home was a loan, but sculptures have been moved throughout the city and the history.
Right.
In the past, I believe it's been board members or city staff or somebody just getting the ball rolling and saying, hey, we got to move this somewhere.
Right. Okay.
Goes to the board and they select a new site. But yeah, if the city commission approves the donation, then then the city owns it.
Right. Okay. Any other comments, Susan?
Brooks, you might have answered this already, but why was this particular sculpture put in this particular park? It's a lot of black. Like, it's beautiful. It's a lot of black in this park.
Right. And so I think, let me do a share screen again. I think they're going with the contrast effect. So here's the sculpture in, with kind of a wooded background over at the OCC in Farmington. And I guess given that we have a sculpture pad there, foot traffic and kind of the background of this location when you look at it. And so double-sided sculpture, so Eastern Hemisphere one side, Western on the other. So you can walk by it there. And then from different angles, you have this kind of natural setting. And so they want the black metal to contrast with the natural color setting. I think scroll, sorry, a bit long. Where'd it go? They went and took photos of it. I wanted to scroll to that. Here we go. Yep. It has a patina finish, and the artist said that he would refinish it before installation, and so they want that black metal to kind of reflect and contrast with the natural kind of setting behind it, is my impression.
Okay, thank you.
Susan, it really didn't occur to me. Again, I really don't want to get into the business of questioning the work of the committee because I sense they've looked at it thoroughly. But and looking at the pictures now, different times of the year, I'm sure it's going to look different. And the pictures, it's in an area that the trees kind of shaded a little bit. It's not. But again, the intention is probably what has been looked at, I would guess.
Yeah, I don't want to second guess anybody, but that's a park I go to a lot, and that's a lot of black in that. It's a beautiful sculpture. I don't want to take anything away from that. It's just the location concerns me.
Right. I think the other thing is that it'll be oriented so the hemispheres face east and west, and so with the sun rising or setting, it'll be reflecting off of the metal, kind of creating that. So depending on what time of the day and where the sun is, like that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, we have a suggested resolution in front of us. Can you clarify then the recommended motion, the recommended motion is to accept the donation by the artist and for the sculpture to be installed at Linden Park as indicated on the map. And then subsequently to that, you mentioned that to recommend that the city contribute, and we're approving an empty slate of financial assistance for the Public Arts Board budget for the construction of the base. So explain that.
So the Public Arts Board requested an increase of the budget for this fiscal year, 2020 to 2021. So right. I believe that they're recommending to spend the money that's approved within their budget.
Okay.
So, therefore, I didn't include it with the Parks and Rec Board. I think, speaking with the Finance Director, Mark Gerber, it's not coming from a general fund, it's coming from money approved for the Public Arts Board.
Once they allocate or once they approve that amount. Okay.
Right, and so the City Commission still approves what the Public Arts Board can spend.
Okay.
But that money was set aside for the Public Arts Board, and so
that's my understanding, and it's clear. But the way that it reads here is it's almost like fill in the blank, right? So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Okay, sorry.
Nope, you're good. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Well, Brooks, thank you for this. It's very, very well put together packet of information. And again, I appreciated, it was interesting to learn about the art in the artist and in his intentions. So, okay, do we have a recommended, any comments, I guess, before we go to a vote? Any comments from the public joining the call? Okay, seeing or hearing none, we do have the motion to recommend that the city accept the donation of Pyramid Earth by, is it Kegem Tazian? and for the sculpture to be installed at Linden Park as indicated on the map. And to recommend that the city contribute the desired amount of financial assistance from the Public Arts Board budget towards the construction of a base in partnership with the artist for the sculpture installation. Does anyone want to put forward the recommended motion? Okay. I will make the motion. Would anyone like to second the motion?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Brooks.
I believe you may have read off of the recommended motion in the memo to
to the
Arts
Parks Board.
And so the one with the finance after the and, I removed that from the Parks and Rec.
Okay, I'm trying to, what page is the motion on that we are approving tonight?
Page 33.
We only have an 18. Oh,
I think it's listed as agenda item 2B at the bottom.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm completely
Page
not
one,
seeing it.
PDF, page 33.
What's that again?
It's page 33 in the PDF. If you look up at the top of the...
So the motion reads to recommend the city accept the donation of the Pyramid Earth.
Got it. Yep, I got it now. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you, Brooks.
All right.
Okay, you want me to reread the motion, Connie, just to be clear?
I second the abbreviated motion.
Thanks, Pam.
And then I'll do a roll call. Heather Carmona,
Yes.
Susan Collins. Susan Collins?
Oh, I said yes,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Pam Graham,
Yes.
Ross Kaplan,
Yes.
Ellie Noble,
Yes.
Dominic Poulos,
Yes.
John Rushi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Brooks. Nicely
No
done.
problem. Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a
Brooke.
good night.
All right. Yep. Have a good evening.
All right, our next item on the agenda is several items for communication and discussion. And the first item is the Parks and Recreation Board subcommittee listing that we
That's just the
Yeah, the
listing
last
that I'm
one.
providing the board based on our last Parks and Rec board stating who's on what committee.
Great. Thank you. The next item is the Capital Projects Subcommittee report from December 1st. And I think, John, as a co-member of that committee, you were going to introduce, or you provided this very thorough report. Thank you.
I think the one thing that I would change on the next one, the title should probably be Capital Projects Subcommittee Progress Report. I'd insert the word progress. I don't know if, do you want, should I read this to everybody, or should we just assume that we've read it on our own?
Yeah, I think in preparation of it prior to the meeting, I would hope that everyone has read through that. And if there are any questions, I think the fine points are that this, we didn't waste any time meeting the Capital Improvement Committee. And these were the things that were discussed. And as Lauren had indicated at the last meeting that we plan to meet, we are probably going to be meeting every couple weeks, right, Lauren? And I just saw that you sent an agenda notice for a meeting, I think next week again for this group. So, but are there any comments for John and members of the committee, which is myself and Susan?
Yeah, I guess I just have a couple of comments on regarding it. As you said, we met just a week ago, and I think that second paragraph, we recognize that citizen engagement is particularly important as we move forward. I mean, we approved an $11 million bond. There's a lot of people that are interested in how the money is going to be spent. So we need to look for opportunities to place key decisions on the city commission agenda and make sure that there's time for the public to be made aware of it and participate in it. I think that's one of the most important items in this report. And then it just goes on to talk about some of the actual meetings and progress that's been set up.
I have a question about Adams Park. Item number 7 says the city staff has contacted the company. Could you clarify whether the city has, they haven't provided any contract or retainer fees or anything like that, like paying for services at this point? This is just a request to come back and revisit, and they would be quoting what additional services they would need to improve the plan, or what's happening there? It just says you've contacted the company to arrange a meeting and walk through to revisit the current concept plans. What does that mean?
I'll be happy to answer that. So before the ballot was placed, the language was placed on the ballot. Months before that, as everyone was preparing for the election, and the Parks bond was on there, I reached out to the original architect who did the concept plan for Adams Park, Michael J. Duell and Associates, and of course wanted to make him aware, because it was promoted and publicly announced that Adams would be one of the initial projects that would be worked on. So I reached out to Mike Duell months ago, and then after the election and the positive outcome from that, circled back with him and to get a proposal from him. And so right now we're in the midst of making that contact and finally getting together and sort of starting from, not necessarily starting from scratch, but getting him back on board, get a proposal from him, and then get next steps that I could then share with the Parks Board to re-engage both Roper, the school, and the citizens, the 2 neighborhood groups that we met with pretty regularly, to start working on that concept plan again.
Okay, that makes sense. It's more than just walk through to revisit. It was a request for quotation of additional services to finalize the plan.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Pam. Okay, any other questions for Lauren or members of the subcommittee? Okay. Oh, Dominic?
So I had a question, and actually not in regards to the capital project subcommittee in particular, more just a procedural question. Since you guys have shown us up with your speed of meeting, and I was wondering, what are the guidelines, for example, myself and Ellie as the members of the golf subcommittee? I mean, what are we supposed to do? Do we reach out to Jackie and set up meetings, or is it on an as-needed basis? I just want to make sure that we're as proactive as we can and should be.
Oh, absolutely. Again, Heather, I'd be happy to answer that. Sure. No, Dominic, I appreciate that. And since Ross excused himself from that committee, long-standing member, Dominic and Ellie are new with it. So that's a good question. We will reach out, the administration or myself will reach out to you as the subcommittee members. Typical, we meet right after the holiday, first part of the new year. Jackie will have a draft annual report, golf annual report, to share with the subcommittee. Brian Grill, our golf superintendent, and Jackie Brito, our GM, will meet with the subcommittee and myself to go over not only the good year that we've had, the data and the stats, and then talk about some proposed capital projects, either those that they're going to work on still the remainder of this fiscal year, and also in upcoming years. So you have that to look forward to. I will be reaching out to you both to be checking your schedules and setting up those meetings. So
okay, that helps. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
I mean, it's typically twice a year. I think we typically met.
That's right, about twice a year, right, Ross?
Yeah, once or twice a year, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a really good question, Dominic. So these committees have mainly been charged with ad hoc work, right? They're standing, but they don't meet ongoing unless there are things that have been agenda items or things that need to be discussed, right? So one of the questions I think you just brought to my attention is in phase 2, when we're looking at the Poppleton excuse me, the golf course drainage improvements. And those are not things that would necessarily go to the golf committee. They would stay within the capital improvements committee, Lauren?
Yeah, regarding the parks bond dollars, the irrigation for Springdale. That typically would stay with the parks board as a whole, and I'm sure Jackie, when she's going to be excited to chat with the subcommittee about that in January. So that's going to be an upcoming near-term project for the golf courses. So we'll probably chat with the subcommittee about it, and then segue into the capital projects committee subcommittee, because of course they're handling the park bond projects. So I think you both will get a little information with regard to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the board? I did have one other comment. I think, you know, we do have an item, and the capital improvement committee did talk a little bit about how, you know, with the ice arena being a priority in this first phase, how we would like to take sort of that discussion outside of the capital improvement committee and have a regular agenda item on the Parks Board agenda to review the ice arena, you know, financials and progress overall. So that's, you see that on the agenda tonight. And that is something that we subsequently hope will remain on the agenda moving forward, that the ice arena would be looked at, just as we do the golf course report. I'm wondering, and I'm just sharing a thought now, that the detail that we do tend to get into in the golf course, you know, we're looking at the finance report and the full report. If the golf course committee is only meeting twice a year, is that something that, I don't want to put any workload on anyone, but I'm just wondering, is there interim work that can be done and recommendations that can be brought to the board on a regular basis, and things to evaluate outside of just reviewing the financials every month? I'm just wondering if the committee, if there's other things that the committee could be proactively looking at versus staff coming to you with the budget, you know, twice a year, as you said. This is a question probably more for you, Lauren, or any other thoughts from the board. Ellie?
Okay, I have a thought because I'm on that committee. We will try to be creative and bring you some interesting ideas, as well as the golf committee, perhaps, because there's a lot of wonderful events that Jackie does. And maybe we can do some more next year.
And those are presented from Jackie at the committee. You'll talk about all that, you know, future next season and so on, and some creative ideas that she has as well. So yes, that's all discussed. It's usually part of the overall package once a year that's brought to the board.
This is Dominic speaking. My 2 cents. I think it's a good question, a good idea. What I was hoping to maybe contribute was each month we look at raw numbers, we look at data, and my hope was to be able to, in some way, turn that into information, right? Maybe looking at trends or plotting some of the data into a chart. It's just seeing if we could draw any insights out of it to see if there are things that you know, need attention or should be applauded, you know, or attended to. But I think that would be, that was at least just a very initial thought in my mind that I would bring to this, call it a kickoff meeting or annual meeting that I just learned about sometime after the new year.
Great.
Just, can I make a comment, Heather?
Sure.
I'm really glad to see that the detailed reports are available, and I'm happy that there's a subcommittee. And for my preference as a board member would be that we see the golf, just a very lot of detail, and spend a lot of time talking about minutia on the golf course report. And I would be happy to like delegate that to the golf subcommittee and bring the highlights of that to this meeting, or changes, or or, you know, significant things where we needed to make decisions or discuss and reach consensus. But to have like a whole board of people doing financial review of a balance sheet, maybe it's a lot. I think it's a lot. We don't, and I think our position, you know, we have some rule to be like good financial stewards for the city, or to know how we're spending park money. And we have a whole lot of attention on the golf course and not really much oversight into the rest of the expenditures for parks. And I think that's kind of a balance I would like to see changed. If that's something that the committee may, and if that's something the committee could take on as looking at the details, then I would feel even more comfortable to leave them alone.
Yeah, I think that was the intent of my comment too, Pam.
Okay. At first, I wasn't sure if we were saying the opposite thing or not.
No.
So, okay.
Okay. Well, I think is it something we can continue to discuss with staff and work towards thoughts on that direction. I think the goal is to try to again be proactive and be transparent, but also be efficient with the use of people who have those skills. And I think, Dominic, your points are well taken. I just saw a hand. I'm sorry, I'm not seeing where it was. Ellie, sorry.
Yeah. So what's happening with the, let's talk about the third committee, the trails. What's going on with that one?
I guess we're waiting for Lauren to contact us on the, so we can meet her on the trail.
Yeah, I guess.
Good answer, Pam.
Guess we could have done it today.
Yeah.
You know, and Heather was right. We did a little intro we met with the Capital Projects Committee. I know we're getting off track of the agenda, but we'll give an overview since there's so many new members on our Parks and Recreation Board, which we're so grateful for, including Anne, who's online listening, taking it all in, I'm sure. The committees are not necessarily standing committees where you're not going to meet regularly. These subcommittees are a draw for the administration to loop you in on projects that are either short-lived, a special master plan you're working on, the Parks bond money now, the trail subcommittee. We have that on there because, you know, that's a significant part of the Parks and Recreation bond dollars expenditures, both for hopefully the Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 of the bond issuance. And, you know, in due time, we're running fast and furious with the ice arena, which I'll go over with you in a little bit. We have the getting together with Booth Park Corner Feature, Phase 3, and also Adams Park. We have a lot of behind the scenes working on playground apparatuses and getting together with those consultants. So there's a lot going in Department of Public Services, which is a little bit of composition of Parks and Recreation. So it's a busy time, and we certainly are going to roll those things out, and we're going to have a schedule for the park board, a collective schedule for a lot of these items as well to share with you. That will be a living, breathable schedule. And the golf subcommittee will probably be the next group that we meet with. So the trail will probably be next year. But you'll know more of that when we get the schedule out as well. And we just continue to keep this in front of us. Public information, the websites have been updated. If you look at the Parks and Recreation board site, the Parks Bond site, and the Ice Arena page, you'll see a lot of good, fresh information. And I'll give you some more details when we get to the ice arena. So that's it right now for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the questions. I think it's good. It's always hard to say if you're not sure what you're supposed to do next. So thank you, Dominic and Ellie, for suggesting or wondering what you should be doing. Okay. Next item then, we'll move into the sports arena renovation and addition project update. We touched on it a little bit, but Lauren, you touched on it a little bit in our capital report.
Yeah, I think I'll go on item number 3, Heather, golf courses.
Oh, I'm sorry. All the talk of the golf courses, I went right over it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. No, my pleasure to review. We have the October 2020 finance report, 3 pages from the finance department. We're looking really good thus far. Lincoln Hills Golf Course is still open. We had a lot of round play on Sunday, and we might be closing it in the very near term, probably after this week or over the weekend. We might get a little sun and a little warm up later this week. So we're gonna still keep it open, but we'll let you know when we close it. In fact, if you sign up for the e-notify on the city website under golf courses, you'll get a little email that'll let you know what the plans are for that and when we do close it. So I encourage you to do that if you're not already signed up. Let's see. So that's the finance report, and then Jackie's report, golf report dated November 19th, 2020. I don't know, there's not much more to say other than we've surpassed the previous years in the rounds this year, over 63,000 rounds, and this was only through November 19th. I think that's wonderful. The team has done an awesome job. Memberships are up. The non-resident and business memberships are up 45% from previous year, and the resident memberships are up about 8%. So we look forward to a good annual report to go over with the subcommittee as soon as we could get everybody together. So I'm happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
Great, thank you, Lauren. Dominic?
I just wanted to clarify, I think in a previous meeting we had talked about the winter sports at Lincoln Hills. And it was quickly acknowledged that based on the COVID restrictions that the clubhouse would not be open. But I thought previously we also understood that all the winter sports would be discontinued for this winter. But what I'm seeing now on the golf report page 66 of our deck here, it indicates that the winter sports will be available at Lincoln Hills, which is good news. I was wondering if you could just maybe clarify, aside from the clubhouse, what will or will not be available this winter at Lincoln Hills?
Yes, Dominic, I don't recall saying that wouldn't be available. I think maybe it was still TBD. Okay. We're still following and tracking the COVID-19 protocols. We do want to allow for as much outdoor activity throughout the winter for the residents, and the golf course will be included in that. So it will be the typical outdoor winter sports at Lincoln Hills. And we still have decided, our decision has been thus far to keep the clubhouse closed. Okay. And we're still waiting on new direction and new orders, possibly next week and even in the weeks to come. So I think everything is still so fluid, but we're happy to offer the facilities. And we'll get that ready as soon as the golf course closes. We'll start getting that ready for winter.
That's good news. Maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly, but either way, it's good news. Positive. Definitely need more outdoor activities, the better, especially as we get into the winter months. So thank you.
For sure. No, thank you, Dominic.
Susan?
Lauren, I just have a question about, will the Barnum ice rink be open this winter? The outside ice rink?
Not yet. Well, generally we don't have, it's not cold enough usually until late January or February, but I think Carrie and the team are going to put up the boards and the liner and things, but I'll let Carrie address that. I think we're holding off a little bit just because ice arenas are closed in general.
Right. So, I wondered if that would be different.
Yeah, we're just trying to get our pulse on that. Carrie, what are your thoughts?
Well, we've exactly what you're thinking about, Susan. We're closed for now, but we're awaiting next week's, the limitations, the pause when it ends, and hopefully we can at least, at a minimum, put the boards up and be ready to open. But we haven't addressed setting it up yet because we don't want to encourage people that it's coming soon because we're not sure. So we're taking it day by day, and we're very hopeful to open this winter the outdoor rink and also our sledding hill at Booth Park and other winter activities.
Great, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate you guys being on top of that.
Okay, any other comments regarding the golf report? Okay, if not, we will move on into the ice arena update. Lauren?
Great, thank you. I knew we'd get to this eventually. All right, so the ice arena, in addition to Adams, we are working also on the ice arena, procuring a firm, an architectural engineering firm to prepare the design for the arena. So right now, Plant Moran Cressa is working diligently on getting an RFP out to procure or secure a firm, an architectural engineering firm that will be able to develop plans and specs for the new renovated ice arena. So that is on the schedule right now. Our goal is to release that RFP in pretty short order, and then once those come in, they'll be reviewed and possibly an award to this professional service firm in early part of January, and then they'll get going on the design, the plans and specs, as I mentioned, prepare everything, and then that would go out to bid in search of a general contractor who actually will ultimately do the construction of the ice arena project, which is, there's a new version of that on the website, which I mentioned earlier on the bhamgov.org/parks bond page, where we describe that, and also we review the items of which were part of the $3.1 million park bond. As you remember, that was on the FAQs in the past on that page, but we've also added that on again, which would encompass a locker room expansion and a remodel of the existing locker rooms, adding a female and a team locker room, a new observation area and meeting room space, and then the new concession area upgrades, to name the majority of the improvements. I think that is it for the update right now. I just want to echo again what Heather mentioned earlier, because we are moving swiftly on a lot of these projects, and the Parks Bond is fresh and exciting, and a lot of people want to keep these things rolling. We're going to have a standing agenda item under communications and discussion, not only about any subcommittees that have met, to give the progress reports, but also to keep the ice arena front and center for the park board. Any opportunity that we have to get an update from Robert Stempien from Plant Moran Cressa, we intend to do that as well for you. The website, communication-wise, the website is going to be updated regularly. So I would encourage everyone to go to the website. It's now called Let's Play. That's the tagline on the front page of our Parks Bond address, if you will, because that's right now everyone's so familiar to go from going there and prior to the bond election, that we wanted to keep that one, but also the history is still going to be there. There's a link of the history that was there prior on that page, the FAQs and the formula and the calculations and all that good stuff will still be available. And also on the ice arena page, which is also on the City of Birmingham website, of course, we've added a lot of documents, links, if you will, to the regarding the renovation and addition project. So that would be the assessment report that Plant Moran did, the reports that went before the City Commission over the last 2 years with regard to the project, PowerPoint presentations that were presented during long-range plan meeting, and things of that nature. So there's a lot of good background information, and also the survey results we specifically did if you recall, in the development of the 2018 Parks and Rec Master Plan, we did independent surveys, not only on master plan items in general, we had a survey on SurveyMonkey for the golf courses and for the ice arena, of which I've separated out and we put on the Birmingham Ice Arena page 2018 Parks and Recreation Ice Arena survey results. So that's back out on public access site. So a lot of good things happening right now. Carrie and Connie are going to be working real hard on this going forward too, and we look forward to keeping you updated on the latest and greatest pertaining to all Parks and Rec items, but in particular Parks and Rec bond items and other projects that we're doing. So I think that is it. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Not hearing any, we will move on. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
The next communication is just a reminder that in January, we will be nominating, going through the nominations for our annual the chair and vice chair of the board. So Dominic and myself have a chance to run free at this time if we want or not. All right, the next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Not hearing any unfinished business, then we will move on to new business. Members of the board, new business. Members of the public. Okay, we will open up then this portion of the agenda for comments open to the public for items that are not on the agenda. Okay, not seeing or hearing any, then we will move to adjourn the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be Tuesday, January 5th, and we will see everyone then. Thank you for a great meeting and happy holidays to everyone. Anne's back. Thank you, Anne.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if I should have my video on or not. I didn't know if I counted.
You're welcome. You can keep it on.
Oh, okay. All right. I will next time.
Or not. It's up to you.
All right.
Have a good holiday, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate
Thank you.
all of you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a safe holiday.
You too.
Mhm.